Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. This is our first session in the Artificial Intelligence Learning Series. It has been on demand. I think after the World Economic Forum in Davos, we had the theme was artificial intelligence, and we had sessions at the Social Innovation House on artificial intelligence, and some of those speakers will be joining us for the second and third session. Abheejit's been at the World Economic Forum as well. And so this is live and current information on AI for social impacts, understanding the trends and the tools. This is more of a hands-on session today so that you can learn some of the tips and the programs that are out there, what they really like about different opportunities that you can use to be and engaged in the work that you're doing. Please share in the chat who you are, where you're coming from, any AI challenges you have, or if you have a tip for artificial intelligence. We love to have kind of this crowdsourced sharing of those resources. I have the privilege of introducing our speakers today. Doan Winkel, he is a professor at John Carroll University in Cleveland, Ohio, and he teaches the MBA courses and obviously developed and built this entrepreneurship minor. He has obviously a passion for experiential learning, and if you don't know him, he is a part of the team that does teachingentrpreneurship.org, which we'll put in the chat. Teachingentrpreneurship.org is a course that they developed, very experiential online course where university professors can offer this in their classroom. And they have been on the cutting edge of artificial intelligence in the classroom and hands-on for social entrepreneurs and how you can use it. So we're super thrilled to have Doan here. I will say, I want to do a bonus. If you don't know this, the fun fact about Doan, he hated almost everything of his 24 years as a student, and yet he has a PhD and loves teaching and loves this, which is why his classes are like none others. So he makes them much more engaging and interesting. Abheejit, I'm sorry, is an active member within Catalyst. As I said earlier, he was one of the artificial intelligence folks that came into the World Economic Forum talking about Gen AI. He has his own social venture. He's a top innovator for his solution, EKATRA. I need to pronounce that. He's coming to us from India, from Nagpur, and he has worked with nonprofits and social sectors and also in the policy area as well. And he's focused on grassroots educational programs for entrepreneurship to teach young people to do this amazing work. And the fun fact about Abheejit is that he keeps developing like apps and programs and things, and he's not actually a technology guy. He actually didn't grow up in computer science, which is a thing that we all thought about him. So I'm going to pass it on to Doan, who's going to kick us off. But thanks, gentlemen, for joining us today.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Debbie. And thanks for giving me some time to share with everybody. As Debbie said, I lead an entrepreneurship program at a university, and also am an ed tech founder. And so I work with a lot of young people, students, but also people in our community who are working on ideas or trying to scale things, whether it's for-profit, nonprofit, pure capitalism, or some social good as well, any variety of things. So, and you know, I've been for years, I've been trying to figure out all this AI stuff and how it's useful. And so I'll just share some kind of basic approaches I find that are really valuable. This may be some review for some people, but review's never a bad thing. And maybe hopefully it shows some newer kind of things for some other folks. So I'm just going to share my screen and kind of walk through some stuff here. So part of this is that, you know, this world is super overwhelming with all the things that are out there. I found I teach classes, I run a large program at a university, I run a company, all these kind of things, and ChatGPT is basically the main tool I use for all of it. So, you know, one of the suggestions I have is try to keep it very simple and just try something, play around with it, because the way that you engage with a lot of these tools is very similar. And so once you kind of figure this process or pattern out, it's easily transferable across different tools and platforms. So one of the suggestions I have is that you think about these kind of tools as if you're having a conversation with a person. The way that you ask questions and the way that you ask follow-up questions and the way that you dig deeper is very different when you're talking to a person rather than when you're talking to a computer or Google. And so if you just have that kind of psychological shift, you're going to find that these things are going to be really much friendlier to you and much more powerful. So a couple of things I wanted to show you, custom GPTs and projects. These are two really, really powerful components of ChatGPT, and part of why I like this one as opposed to some other ones. And so the custom GPTs, if you don't know about them, they're over in this Explore GPTs tab over here, and they're available on free version, paid version, so it doesn't matter. Think of this kind of like the App Store, where people build these things and then put them up here. The downside of these is that there's no review process. So it could be good or it could be garbage. You don't know. So just be careful when you're using these, because there's, nobody's reviewing them. So, I can throw 10 up tomorrow, and Abheejit can throw 10 up tomorrow, and nobody looks at them to say, are these actually good? So what you'll find is tons and tons and tons of these. And so, for your purposes, you may want to be able to do some research. And these are chatbots that either companies or individuals have built. And so all you have to do, let's say you've got some data and you're trying to analyze some data, you kind of find one that you think is going to do the task you want it to do. And what I recommend people do is, once you click on it, you kind of take a look. Well, there's been 1 million conversations and it gets a 4.0 rating from 50,000 people. So it gives you some sort of signal that this is probably okay. This is probably a decent one. And so what you do, and when you open any of these, is you just come down here and start the chat. And then once you start the chat, you're essentially talking to this particular chatbot, right? And so however it got programmed, it's going to do these things. So for instance, if you've got large data sets, if you've got big Excel spreadsheets that you're trying to analyze, find patterns, find relationships, any of that kind of thing, this is something that can do it for you, right? You can do it on your own, or you can find one of these things and you can kind of play around with it. And so I haven't played around with this one myself, but you can see what happens is they all have these kind of prompts to start things off. So if you want a data analyst kind of thing, if you want to reorganize data, so you just kind of click and play, and you can upload files, right? So if you've got a spreadsheet of data that you want to upload, be careful and think that through, because once you upload it, who knows where it goes or who has access to it? I don't. So just be careful of that, right? So there are gobs and gobs and gobs of these things. If you want to do some writing, right? So you might be writing content. There's all kinds of different ones that will help you to very quickly write content. Doesn't mean it's good, but they'll kind of help you get started. There's productivity ones. So, if you're trying to generate images, if you're trying to generate some slideshows, if you want to generate some videos, they do these things very, very quickly. So part of what I suggest people do is just have a list of all the tasks that you do, and you can go in here and you can search for them based on a certain task you want to do, and you can see what's out there and you can try them. Okay. One of the ones I recommend that people use if you're newer to this, or if you're still kind of struggling, excuse me, to get good output, is this prompt maker one. Because what it does, Ruben built this a while ago. And what it does is essentially it makes bad prompts good prompts, for just to put it simply. So for instance, you could say, I need to write a letter to the Cleveland Foundation to apply for a grant for my children yoga therapy business, right? Oh, that didn't work. Sorry. I need to write a letter to Cleveland Foundation to apply for a grant for my little kid yoga therapy social business, right? So that prompt, I need to write a letter, blah, blah, blah. Like that's a garbage prompt and you're not going to get anything great out of it if you put that in. But what Ruben has done is, he's just built this in a way to say, take whatever somebody gives me and put it in this format that ChatGPT likes to see things in and works well with things in. And so just in a matter of seconds, it turns this into this, right? Just like I tell my students when they're turning in work on their assignments, you don't want to copy and paste things, but now you've got a much more robust prompt that you can tweak it to your purposes. You go in here, you change some things, you update some things, you make sure it's going to do what you want it to do. And then you can just put that in as a new prompt and you're going to get significantly better output. And so along the way, you're starting to learn if you're, reading these and you're paying attention and tweaking them, you're starting to learn the structure of a prompt that these things like to see. So it's not really a skill you have to have anymore. It used to be way back when that was the big skill, but nowadays you don't really need that skill because there's some of these things that will create those for you and you can kind of learn along the way. So that one, no matter what, I would say, no matter how good you think you are at prompting, like it's interesting to use this to see if there's ways you can improve it. But if you're not really great at it or you're just beginning, just use this. And even if you use a different, you use Gemini or Claude or a different one, you can still use this to get prompts and then copy and paste them over into the other one, okay? So that's kind of the custom GPTs and the prompting, because the prompting is really what this is all about. The more efficiency you have in understanding the structure you need to use to ask it good questions, the better information you're going to get out of it. The other thing is projects. And so projects are pretty cool if you're, like for your business, let's say, right? I've got, and I just started to play around with these more recently. I don't know what took me so long, but anyway. So you can develop it, you can open a new project. And really what you can do is it's almost like this little self-contained bubble. And so you can add files here that are specific just to that project. So for instance, your business, if you have files for your business that you want this to be able to reference and use as part of its knowledge base, you can upload all these files here. Again, before you upload things, just be sure you don't mind those, excuse me, being public, because they may be. And then you can also add instructions. So you give it specifics about your company. If you're writing content, what sort of tone of voice do you want? These kind of things. And here is where that prompt maker GPT can come in handy, because it can essentially write the prompt that becomes these instructions, depending on what you want to do. And then here, you're just, again, using your prompts, right? So if you are creating content, whether it's for blogs or social media, let's say, or letters to stakeholders, recruitment letters for employees, whatever it might be, you can have all of your files in here that describe your company, your strategy, brand guidelines, whatever you want to have in here. And you can have this particular project writing the content or creating what you need to create it with the knowledge base about your company. And it's all sort of self-contained. And then the other cool thing is all of those chats particular to this project stay here. So you don't have to go searching through, big long list of these or searching through here. It's all sort of self-contained. And so for most people, these are like the two powerful things aside from just getting good at the conversation. And that really is just practice. You just keep asking it questions and you keep having conversations with it. But it's that mental approach of saying, I'm going to treat this like a person, right? And I don't think it necessarily makes a difference in terms of how ChatGPT functions. If you, say please, I imagine it doesn't make a difference. But in our minds, if we're talking to it like we're talking to a person, I promise you'll get better output. And it's more enjoyable. You don't get so angry at a piece of technology, right? So those are really the two great, big sort of high level tips and tricks. I think strategically or operationally, what I would suggest is for your individual job, if you make a list of all of the tasks that you do, and you have low value tasks and you have high value tasks, and you kind of make two columns, right, of the low value and the high value, and then talk to your supervisor and see if they agree. But then whatever's in that low value column, start to figure out how do you offload a lot of that work onto AI. And for the vast majority of that work that you're going to have, ChatGPT can do a tremendous amount of that work. And the really cool thing, or scary, depending on how you think about it, is you can ask ChatGPT how to use ChatGPT for something. So you don't even have to know how to do it. You can just ask it, right? I need to do this. Like, how do I prompt ChatGPT to, help me code this landing page or whatever it might be? So you can just come in here completely 100% ignorant and very quickly start using it productively, because you can ask it and it will sort of train you on how to use it. So start with those two lists, and whatever the low value stuff is, start to offload that into here. See if there are these custom GPTs that do that particular task, right? If it's content creation, if it's reviewing letters, to clean them up and professionalize them, if it's data analysis, any of that kind of stuff. See if there's a custom GPT and start playing around with it. And then creating a project so that you don't have to keep going back over and over and over again and finding things and copying and pasting things. And if you do those two things, the level of efficiency that you have just skyrockets very quickly. And when you can be more efficient, you can be a lot more effective in what you do. And that's good for your business. That's good for you. It's good for you and your supervisor's eyes. And so everybody kind of wins. But it's just a tool. It's a skill. The way I like to look at it is, this is a skill. Any platform, no matter which one we're using or we're talking about today, is a skill, and you just have to practice. It's like playing a musical instrument, riding a bike, whatever. You just have to practice it. And so, my advice is just open one of these things up, pick one, start playing around with it. ChatGPT is my favorite because it does everything I need it to do. And so I don't want to clutter my brain with all the other ones that do similar kind of stuff. So I'll probably stop there. We could do hours and hours and hours on this. The other one, and maybe Abheejit might touch on this, but the other one that I wanted to mention, we use it a lot, obviously, in education and with students, is Gamma. It's gamma.app, GAMMA, and it's for slide decks, presentation decks. And it's a really powerful thing as well. You can either upload notes, right? So if you have an outline of something you need a slide presentation for, or you can just type text in and it will create a really crisp and clean slide deck for you. And then you can go in and change around the graphics and the words and whatever, but you don't start from scratch. It's going to be really clean. So you're going to have a good format and a good visual. So that's the other one that we find really, really helpful in a lot of ways. And I think certainly for social ventures, you're having to make a lot of presentations and share a lot of that with people. So that's my 2 cents at the beginning of the day.
Wonderful. Thank you, Doan, for kicking us off. Abheejit, off to you. You have way more than you have time for. Let's go.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Excited to be here. Thank you very much, John, for kicking that off. Just to be on the other side of the table, I'm not a very, I used to, or rather I use a lot of GPT for my work, but now I'm a more Claude AI fan. And I'll walk you through a couple of those things as well. So maybe we can have a quick walk through the presentation, and let me also surprise you a little bit with what is possible. So when we talk about the power of AI for social innovations, and maybe Cindy, if you could just keep moving the slides, that will help. we want to see what AI can do for all of us. And today we want to take a quick hands-on. There are different ways these tools can help you to identify patterns, insights, uh, as Doan said, automating routine tasks, and to create very interesting social impact solutions. Uh, Next one, and the way that this assists is in multiple ways. One is definitely by analyzing vast amounts of data and understanding patterns out of it. Next slide, please. So we're going to also do a bit of hands-on today in terms of I'm hopefully going to turn you into an AI expert in some ways or the other. Uh, and let's try and solve some of the issues that you're looking in your daily work life. Some ways that AI is helping drive social innovation is there are AI-powered chatbots that are being used for mental health support. There's a lot of debate around that. For disaster management, there's a massive event called the Kumbh Mela that's going on in India right now, and they're using a lot of these solutions out there. Then there's a precision farming that is being supported by AI as well. Very like just as of yesterday, a close friend's AI farming solution was featured by both Satya Nadella, who's the Microsoft CEO, and his tweet was retweeted by Elon Musk himself. So quite interesting to see how a very small innovation in India, um, very close to where we're working in, is gaining that international traction and completely on farming. The future for these solutions lies in multiple ways in terms of how do we leverage now as co-pilots for all of us. Next one, please. And that's a quick thank you slide. But now let me surprise you. This entire presentation was made with one single statement given to an AI create this presentation for you. And you can imagine it pretty much, it did, I think, at least a 30% decent enough job for all of you. Any thoughts? So I think we'll skip this. We've already been through my introduction. Maybe go to the next slide. And this is the organization or the social impact tool that I run called Ekatra. We do WhatsApp-based micro-learning solutions, and beyond that, I'm now involved with quite a bit of different startups, supporting them in different ways. Now, what's out there? We saw an insight of ChatGPT in terms of what it can do, but there's just so many things out there. There's now Llama. Bard used to be called Gemini, but like Gemini used to be called Bard before, and there's Claude. There's Stable Diffusion, which are image and mid-journey. And on the advanced side of things, there's Agent GPT. I think the slides are changing for me. I'm not very sure if that's an issue, but yeah, we still are on the what is out there slide.
Okay. Yes, we are.
So, yeah. So we'll walk through a couple of these tools, and but in the meantime, I want to get to know from all of you quickly in the chat in terms of what are you looking. I've seen some phenomenal introductions, very very good to have all of you here. But what is something that you're looking or the problem that you're looking to solve with AI, or trying to explore that, hey, is this even possible, right? And we'll go through that as well. So please do put your responses on chat, and I'd love to take those solutions up. Okay, yes, for sure. So just to quickly give you an understanding of what a large language model is, or what these LLMs are, they ingest a lot of the data that could be structured, text, voice, images, etc. They train them, and then there are multiple tasks that they can do, right? Uh, I think we'll quickly jump to a few demos. Like again, there's just so many tools out there, and what is possible today, it's mind blowing in terms of every other day we have at least a few thousand tools, if not less, driven by AI. Again, this is a very old, like this 2-year-old report. So we've already seen ChatGPT, and you've seen. I'm not very sure if you tested these things out, like the search and the reasoning part of it. And this one I tried right away. Uh, so let me quickly go to the screen, and I can start sharing my screen. Sivi, yeah, if you could allow me. Cool. So here we are. I said, what I did is this is the free version. I am more of a Claude user, so as I said, I'll walk you through in terms of how do you use this. You've already seen what GPTs can do. Here I created a little GPT of my own, where you could talk to me. I can send this link, and it speaks on my behalf. I added a lot of my information, and I created one for Catalyst as well, where you could ask Catalyst a few different solutions. And again, this currently work in progress. But yeah, so primarily now, at least on the free version, you have multiple of these things available. So I asked it, how can I give a session for social impact, AI for social impact, right? And I chose these two little buttons here. So one is obviously there's search the web, where it goes and scars the web for specific things. And second is where it now can start thinking uh, before you give it a prompt. One good idea always is that, hey, you type in something and say, hey, can you first improve my question and then work on it, right? So a simple thing where you ask the GPT itself to do something for you, and like to think or put your thoughts better, and then uh, it helps you optimize those thoughts for you, right? The second one is Claude. Claude is similar to ChatGPT. It is one of the tools that is out there. Quick thing, maybe Debbie, Cindy, if you could let us know when we have the breakout also, I can take a break before that. So cool. So Claude is a similar solution like GPT. This is now like my go-to solution of sorts. And here it has a similar thing where you have these projects, right? So now what I've done, for example, is this is my organization that you can create multiple of these. And this is similar to what Doan showed in terms of Chat GPT, where I've added a bunch of my documents here, which are related to my organization. And then I could, just go and keep asking it questions. So today, I was curious that, hey, what does it do? Can I just give my entire brief and ask it that, hey, if it could create a website for me, right? And I did not see the output. I'm going to see it while we chat here. But this is something that it can do for you, right? So you want to get it to do a few things. Again, I think it did not do it quite good. Things got messed up, but yeah, uh, it can create something very interesting. So with both Claude and GPT, you can now use it to make something interesting. One, now how do you use data? Like, all of us deal with data. So what I'm doing here is I have this one report, which is the meta report. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to ask Claude that, hey, can you explain this to me, or what's in it for me, right? So if you have, again, you have several different tools that you want to use. Hey, can you tell me? Yeah, I'm just in education. And I've given that prompt to it with the PDF. Now, this is something you could do with your own doc. Again, please ensure that you follow the privacy policies by your organization, because a lot of this data goes back into training these AIs. So you want to use something that is more private, and there are some private solutions for organizations as well. If you need help in that, I'm happy to support you on those aspects. So again, so I asked it what happened in education, and it scarred through the entire thing, and it gave a couple of these ideas, or what was the work done by BEF in the education space, right? Now, can I ask it, can you help me visualize the impact? So here, it does something very interesting, where this has something called as artifacts, which is now also available on uh, uh, ChatGPT. And here it is creating now a visualization of the impact. I don't know. I just gave it a very simple prompt. You can always, go much deeper and give it very specific actions that, hey, can you uh, do, can you create a visualization for this one specific thing as part of the report, right? Or I want to build a tool, I can ask it to make a UI for me for this project, right? So again, let's see what it's going to push out. In the meantime, I'm still waiting. I'll quickly go through the chat. And again, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions if you have any. I would appreciate that. We'd like to keep this more of a two-way communication than just us speaking. So, okay, so there are a couple of things: scraping bibliographic information from multiple sources by ISBN to enter in library database. Oh, wow. So this is what it did. And this is happening live. So these are things that you can do. Again, uh, I just asked it a very, very random question, and it gave me something out of it. You can ask very specific questions and uh, get on top of that. So again, we are talking about scraping bibliographic information from multiple sources. Here, you can always go to, let's say, ChatGPT. ChatGPT has a search functionality here. So I can say that, hey, I will put the exact same question, uh, that, hey, from multiple sources. So let's define this. Like, if you want to put this maybe and Scholar, and let's see what it does, right? So you can use a couple of these tools or build something custom. So it is currently searching the web. It is going through multiple information. Yeah, let's see what it is doing. So here it is asking us to go through the API process, which is a bit technical, but yeah, we can always use a couple of these things. Then we're talking about social isolation can be combated. I have a very interesting solution that I'll walk you through here. Uh, okay, how do you make ChatGPT more environment friendly? That's something uh, that's not currently in our hands, but what you can always do is if you want to run it on your own local system, there are solutions like Olama. I'll walk you through that, which you can host locally, and the data is completely on your system. However, it requires a little bit of advanced systems to uh, run well, right?
And we're going to go ahead and get ready for the breakout rooms. So when you're done, Abheejit will work on those.
Sure. So maybe a key point for the breakout rooms for all of you is to come and think of solutions or ideas that you want to test out with AI. Again, be as open and like creative as possible. Don't think, hey, do I think this is possible? You don't know unless you've tried it, right? So come up and share ideas with each other that, hey, can this be done, or how can this be done, right? We want those ideas coming out of you. Maybe any other additions by Cindy or Debbie you want to add? I
So we're
can
going to
stop.
try. Great. We are going to attempt to do this. We have not done this before where you can pick your room. And so there might be a little bit of trickiness, but when I open the rooms, you should be able to move into other rooms and choose the room that you want to be in. So, some of you will go automatically into rooms. Apologies for that. I'm not sure why that's set up that way. But you can then, when you go in, just go into the breakout room and then select or move to a new room. Hopefully that will work. So you should be seeing those rooms now, and we're hoping it works out. And then if you don't have a room, you're going to hopefully here will be able to put you into rooms. As always, those breakout rooms are always super tight and short. So apologies for that. I hope you got a little bit of some tips. Does anyone want to share some of the tips here that you thought was really great and everybody else should do it? And also know you can put in the chat.
Yeah, while people come up and share, I know that there were a few questions around, is there a tool for this? And let me share with you a very interesting website. It's called, there's an AI for that. Oh, I'm sorry, I think I went on the wrong one. Yeah, it's called there's an AI for that. So what you can do is just go here and see that what can it do. So I think there was one question for hiring, that how do I hire, and it can give me a lot of these tools which are for uh, optimizing my hiring process. So again, seems like my system has gone for us, but yeah. So again, you can go here and you can check in terms of which tools are there. There's always some or the other tool that you want to try out. If there are specific things that you're looking at, you can always reach out to me. I'll be happy to help you with some specific solutions in terms of the tools that I've explored. Yeah, while this loads, I'll open up people, like anyone wants to share any quick questions or learnings from the groups.
And as Abheejit's doing that in the chat, I'm trying to answer some of the questions. Sylvia, you talk about writing in French and experience. Doan, if we have a second, I would love for you to show how you teach your classes in multiple languages. It's insane. Yeah, that guy's taken forever.
Yeah, I'm not very sure what's, yeah, but yeah, let's see. Okay, it'll come back. But yeah, any quick learnings from the group or any pressing questions that were not answered?
Yeah, so let me do Doan real quick. Go ahead, Doan. This is Doan teaching his students in another language he doesn't speak. Oh, he didn't hit the sound on. No sound. You probably, they moved it on the Zoom where you have to do it on the right-hand side to select the zone, the sound.
Speaking Arabic.
There it goes.
Speak Arabic.
Is that on?
There you go.
Students have a resource to deepen their learning, do videos for workshops or webinars. But wait, it gets way more exciting. Now check out the same video, but this time I'm speaking Arabic, and I don't speak a word of Arabic. هذا ليس نتحدث. أنا قمت بإنشاء هذا الفيديو عن طريق كتابة نص في هاجن AI. يمكنك إنشاء محاضرات فيديو أو إعطاء التعليقات في دقائق. إنشاء مقاطع فيديو للفصول الدراسية غير المتزامنة، وتوفير مصدر لتعميق تعلم الطلاب، وإنشاء فيديوهات للورش والندوات عبر الإنترنت.
Yep. So I can now fluently speak like 280 some languages in minutes.
And you can't even tell, he had a little bit of a lag, but when he doesn't have that lag, it looks like he's talking in that language. It's insane. What's the tool that you use there, Doan?
It's called HeyGen. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat. Well, Zoom wants me to confirm what language I'm speaking now because it heard me speaking Arabic.
Abheejit, you're muted.
Sorry. It asked me if I was speaking Spanish for some reason. I don't know why that happened.
Yeah. Okay. It is crazy what it can do now. Really great. I will say my native speakers sometimes get frustrated that the translations are not always as good, but Doan, you said the audio is working fantastic.
Yeah. So, okay. Yeah, so we
found that I was just in Japan and I used ChatGPT on my phone to navigate Japan, never speaking a word of Japanese with a lot of people who didn't speak a word of English, and it was very, very seamless. So using the voice function in ChatGPT served me just fine.
Amazing. So yeah, so again, like quickly going through this, there are a bunch of these tools. So you want to do shortlisting, you want to do video interviews. I don't know what this does, but yeah, bunch of these tools. You can always go here and find what you're looking for. Quite a plethora of tools out there. So that being said, one next, I think again, maybe some of you may not like it, but yeah, this is one of the best image and video tools that's out there. This is from China. Kling. I know some people do not prefer these Chinese tools, but again, they are crazy in terms of the solutions that are out there. Okay, seems like there's a bit of lag on my browser. Maybe Dawn, someone on the other side could share it. I'll try what's the issue.
Mine's
I got the
Mine's
question
being slow.
earlier, if you guys could answer about, I'm concerned about my organization's information being available to anyone. How do I keep that information private?
Don't share it.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately,
had-
right? I mean, there's
Mhm.
there's a risk to it.
Ultimately.
So in I can say this in ChatGPT, if you go into the settings and you go under the data controls tab in the settings, there's a little button you toggle off at the very top that essentially says don't use my conversations as part of the training data. So if you trust OpenAI, that supposedly stops them from sharing your information as part of their training. But you have to trust them. But ultimately, this is a huge problem, right? This is data privacy and copyright and all these kind of things is a massive problem. And so ultimately, obviously, the safest bet is just don't do it if you're really concerned about it, or anonymize things, anonymize things and whitewash things and do it that way so that there's no way it can link to whatever organization you're a part of.
Mhm.
Right. And maybe there are other ways to go about it also is run these systems completely locally. So there are simpler models that you can use. There are tools like Olama that help you uh, install the entire AI on your local machine. It does not have ChatGPT, but it has Microsoft models, it has Meta models, it has even like the new Chinese model that's DeepSeek that you can run completely offline on your system, so you get pretty much the same level of intelligence, but without the machine or without any data going out of your system there. Uh, Other ways are there are now some solutions which have 100% privacy offering, where you want where they guarantee that there's no data that is being sent to train the AI models. So you can keep it completely private, which is for organizations. So if again, like if your organizations are looking for those kind of solutions, I'd be happy to recommend a couple of the solutions that we've used or we've tried in the past, which are completely secure and which do not use your data for any sorts of training.
Yeah. So speaking of that DeepSeek, when you brought it up, I think of the AI bias that happens. If you run something into one of the softwares, you'll notice that they're talking about all white Americans, or in the language of that native language. What are some advice that you would give about the implicit bias and challenges that we have right now with the AI tools that are out there?
Right. So there's all these tools, and maybe it's similar to the way that we think is right. Each one of us has the way we come from different countries, different backgrounds, and the way that we see the world. So that bias is brought by the information and exposure that we have, and that's exactly the way that it works with these AI tools. Is they are as good as or they are as bad as the data that they are trained on. So if you want to avoid that bias, one is you can always prompt that, hey, don't just think from a North American perspective, or can you ensure that you include global South perspective, or whatever domain that you want to add, prompt it that it looks from that perspective. The second is to provide enough background. So now pretty much all of these AI tools allow you to upload documents. So you can always upload certain background information and then ask it that use this as a reference and then respond to me, right? So those kind of things are pretty much possible.
Yeah, I'll second what he said about giving it that context and that background. If you're, the way to think about it is there are certain perspectives and cultures and whatnot who don't have as much information published as others, right? And so they don't have as strong a voice in all of this as others. And so if you have things that you can upload to say, here's information about this culture, here's information about these value systems or whatever, you're helping to train it, which I think is a good thing. But then you're also working to minimize some of that bias that's there so that you can feel a little more confident that it's at least considering some of that information that you've shared with it. So I always tell people, start with you can't give it too much information, right? The more you give it, the more knowledge it has to process to give you what you want.
Absolutely. Great. On evaluating impact, because of course, most of the people here are social entrepreneurs, how can AI help in tracking and evaluating the impact of our social programs? You have some suggestions?
Yes, so as one of the things that I shared was you can always use tools like Claude or GPT to visualize things. It helps you identify it. It can suggest you ways in terms of if you give it a program information and ask it to build a M&E plan for you, how best to ensure that all of like everything is captured in the right way. You can prompt it to design those design the monitoring framework for you based on the program itself. Then second is something that we are now also exploring, and a couple of other tools that are there, is where you could use voice AI solutions. Now a lot of them exist, where these voice AI agents can now talk to you as a real human, and it can have one-on-one conversation with the people that have benefited from your programs, and it can give you real-time impact information as well. This is something that we're trying to now hopefully build under the Catalyst initiative, like under the Digital Solutions initiative as well. And if any one of you is interested in that, please come and contribute to us.
I think
And we'll
that's
put this
cool.
we'll put this in the follow-up notes. I actually did outcomes versus outputs for measurement, and we just keep getting challenged because all we talk about is outputs. This many people come to our learning series. This many people participated. Oh, they did a survey. How can I turn those into outcomes? And I had a much better, so many more ideas that came from ChatGPT than I got on my own. Doan, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I work with a lot of younger people who are thinking about beginning their journey or very early in their journey. And so, especially with that population, but I think it behooves all of us, is we can use these, the Claudes and the ChatGPTs or whatever to give us, like Abheejit said, give us some frameworks and help us to understand, if we're wanting to track social impact, here's all this information about my business. Here's the populations we serve. Here are, we try to get government funding from these sources or whatever. You give it all of this context, and then you start asking it, what should you track? How should you track it, right? And you use it as a thought partner throughout the whole process. And then as you're gathering information, data, as Abheejit said, you can have it start to visualize that data for you to be able to communicate whatever the impact is with whatever audience, if they want these kind of graphics versus these kind of graphics. These platforms can at least do the very basic minimum to get you started.
Claire, I'd love for you to unmute and share what your advice was that you shared in the chat.
Hi, sure. I did another training session like this recently, and I learned there that it helps ChatGPT if you give it like small steps, because it always looks for sort of like the fastest answer. And then sometimes it can sort of think too fast when you ask it like a huge task at the same time. And so, for example, if you have like a huge data sheet or something that you attach, then you can like ask it, hey, there's this data set that I want to share with you. Can you please read it and let me know when you're done? Something like this. I don't know. And then once it's done, you can ask it, I don't know, to analyze it or to look for, I don't know, the biggest numbers or I don't know what, whatever, to sort of like get better answers.
That's really good advice. Great. Any other questions that you guys have? Feel free to unmute and ask them. I will continue on. What about project management or human resources or other things? So what other tools can automate, can help social ventures in making them more efficient and effective in the work that they're doing that you can see? You know, I think of you, Doan, as saying those easy tasks, those low value tasks that I can ask AI to do for me.
Right. So I think there's like a new trend of things called AI agents, and which you can now start building on your own as well. There are a couple of tools that allow you to do that, where if there are any of these low value and automation driven tasks, there are applications like make.com, and one of my recent favorites is Relay, uh, where you can build these workflows and it does tasks for you. So you can just put it on autopilot and keep doing them for yourself.
Awesome.
I think,
Bridget.
is it? Yeah,
Sorry.
you got it, Debbie. You saw her.
Go for it.
Hey, thank you so much for this session. I've really learned a lot. This is sort of taking a step back, or I hope it's not off topic, but something I'd like some thoughts on. This story keeps coming to my mind during this session. It's a joke that my grandfather used to tell about his marriage, that when they got married, they decided that he said, I'll make all the big decisions, you know, and your grandmother would make all the small, unimportant decisions. And in our whole marriage, she never brought me one decision to make. You know, point being that if we say, you know, AI can, sorry, I've got a plane flying overhead here. If we say AI can kind of do our low value tasks, and we're running nonprofits that are mission driven, you know, how do we, from an ethical perspective, decide where those boundaries are? Like you were saying that you mentioned in the chat, I write all my own copy, but then I let it edit. And it's so easy once you start letting it write copy to not write it yourself. And then you see that your mission has been pulled in the direction that it sees as, you know, and sometimes it's good, maybe it's what's marketable, but ultimately, why are you doing this if, you know, you might wake up and find that all the little decisions have added up to your organization. So how are those of us who've been, like, I really was using it a lot a few years ago for everything, and I think I've kind of pulled back because of some of that fear. It's like I'm hitting fast forward on my dream job. You know, I don't know, just how is everyone thinking about that, especially anybody who's been using it for a while?
I think quick 2 cents is always give it background and always use it as a co-pilot. That's the word that's in the market as well. That the way that I primarily use it is I do a lot of brainstorming with it. I talk to the system and help it optimize or structure a lot of random thoughts that I have, and maybe make them, like as you said, like in a way, how do I make my thoughts a little bit marketable, and maybe give me 5 different versions of the same idea that I may not have thought about it, right? So if I have one way that I'm thinking about it, it can give me 5 different ideas that I may not have thought completely. So you can always prompt it to do that and then decide which one to take. Right? So use it as an extension rather than like, a cripple, like use it as something that you want to add.
I think, yeah, I think also one way to look at it, and it's an amazing question, that I think people have to continuously evaluate, right? But I think one way to think about it is, you have a passion, you have a mission, there are things you are good at, and there are things you are not good at. And if you can find things, whether they be people or tools or whatever, to help you with some of the things you're not the great at, so that it enables you to spend your time on the things you're really good at, to deliver, build a mission, scale a mission, whatever. I think that type of a mindset is valuable, so that you don't start to give some of what you're really good at and passionate about over to these things, right? But you keep those two things kind of distinct. In my experience, if I get to spend more time on the things I really enjoy, that bring me joy and that bring me meaning, I spend more time on those. I don't want to give those away, right? So that's just kind of how I look at it anyway.
I'll give you a low value one that I just love, and I shouldn't say this out loud, but like somebody writes you a question in an email and they want you to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, I do not have time for this. Right. And I used to spend 20, 30 minutes on an email, and you just can't if you work at Catalyst. Right. And so I'd throw that into ChatGPT and I'd say, answer that question. And so basically it answers, I would say 30, 70% of it well. And then I'm just fixing the things, adding links, what have you. So it doesn't force me to write it from scratch. I think that was interesting to me. We used to actually have templates of all our emails because we would have interns coming from multiple places in the world, and language skills are very different. And now we don't need to do that because we can run things through ChatGPT to make sure that, yes, it's using the language, it makes sense, it's clear. So it's challenging. I agree. Which ones do you give up and which ones do you keep? But there's just not enough time in the day. And it really hasn't been a great tool for some of the easy, low value tasks.
I'll also quickly take a moment, and while we were discussing, I did something interesting. So while we're talking about low value tasks, but then there are some high value solutions as well that we can capture in, like, as I said, like as Debbi shared, I'm not a coder, but I understand how code works and stuff. So, but now with the help of AI, I'm able to build and see things. So a lot of the things that you initially felt that, hey, I want to build this, but I don't know how to, or I want to tell someone how this should look like, and I want to tell them how I want my, how I want it, or transfer my vision to them. AI helps you do that. I'll quickly share my screen.
Actually, time-wise, I am a horrible moderator. I thought I would make sure we're totally on time, and I got too into this. We're right at the time when we end the session. So what I'm going to do is we will share that in the post session, and then Cindy's just we're going to launch the poll. So we'd love to get your feedback on the session so we can talk about our outcomes and what we're doing. And Cindy, if you want to share the upcoming AI sessions that we have coming up and the fundraising masterclass sessions, that would be great.
Sure. Debbi, I'll take maybe 2 minutes to walk this quickly through, because this is something I feel that.
Abheejit, let's do this. Let me have Cindy finish up, and then if you want to make people stay, you can.
Sure.
Got it. Go for it.
Guys, so thank you so much for joining. We just wanted to invite you to join our upcoming sessions on AI, which are going to run for the whole March. And then you can also find all the links for the sessions for our other learning series, which is Foundations of Social Entrepreneurship, with the first session being the one on Tuesday with the Entrepreneurs panel. Also, next up, you can also register for the fundraising masterclasses. The first one are the toolkits that we're launching, and then are the regular ones. And also, I will share on the chat all the necessary links for the social change innovators where you can find more resources, and the Medium platform in case you are interested in writing articles for us and publishing it in our platform. So yeah, thank you so much for joining.
If you need to go ahead and leave. Thank you, Doan and Abheejit, for doing the session in your native language. And if you want to stay here, Abheejit's a 2-minute pitch. Go for it.
Sure. So this is something that I quickly shared. So we're talking about like on the same document that we're looking at by WEF. I asked it to build a dashboard, and this is what it did. Like, again, this one simple statement. This is what it was able to build it for me. Again, I can go deeper and ask it to build more interesting things for me. And it went out and did that. So these are the ways that you can visualize a lot of things, or this is how I want the dashboard to look like. These are the things that I want, and then tell it to your tech person, or add real data on top of it as well. The second experiment I quickly did in a few minutes is I asked it to give a description of a M&E tool for the question that we had asked, again, for scraping bibliographic information. And what it did was build a M&E dashboard, bibliographic tracking, and library management description dashboard. I used this, went to this very interesting tool called Lovable. The name itself is amazing. It helps you code things. I gave the entire prompt, like this is the technology, or this is the dashboard that I want to build. And in a matter of few minutes, it built this dashboard for me, which I can actually go out and deploy on the internet for people to use and see. So again, look at this. And I'm surprised that it actually took up a bunch of books. And again, all of this has come from one small prompt. Now, I want to look at it. I can play around. It has, oh wow, it built all of this in a matter of few minutes, right? So
Thank you, Abheejit. This is super helpful. And like I said, we will have more sessions and more opportunities, and we'll share some of these prompts in the follow-up materials. Thank you again, all. Thank you, Doan and Abheejit. Take care. Doan already left for class.
Thank you.